All right, this is part 2 of the weekly Q&A. Make sure after watching this one, if you haven't watched part 1, you go ahead and do that. Make sure as well, if you want to be able to participate, have your questions potentially answered in future Q&A videos, that you tweet them to me. That's the only way they're going to get answered. You got to let me know. You can follow me on Twitter. That way you can do that, you know? All right, let's go ahead and get kicked off here. Part 2 of the Q&A for this week. Mags, the NFL nerd, starts us off by saying, which NFL head coaches are on the hot seat in 2021? 2021, who's on the hot seat? This is going to help me visualize, so humor me here for a second. I don't think anybody in the AFC East is on the hot seat. Zach Taylor in Cincinnati could be on the hot seat. So if they don't start well, I think the pressure is certainly going to turn up there. AFC South. The Texans, who the fuck was it that they hired to be their head coach? I don't even remember. Like, that's so bad. Like, he could potentially be a one-and-done guy. Yeah, I'm just saying. AFC West. Fangio is going to be on the hot seat, I believe. Gruden's not because of the length of money in his contract, although he should be. NFC East. McCarthy, especially if they start out poorly the second year in a row. NFC North, Nagy. Especially if he stubbornly sticks by wanting to start Dalton and they struggle early, or you don't see much development in Fields, like he could be a goner. Zimmer could potentially be a goner because he was lucky to save his job last year. Like, if you get off to another start like that, he could certainly be on the hot seat. NFC South, oh, God. I don't think anybody there. NFC West, Pete Carroll. He ain't going to be able to coach forever. If there's a rift that develops between him and Russell Wilson, or a bigger rift, like, it could lead to him being shown the door. So those would be some of the guys that I would potentially look at. At Kasia 185, who will win between Mayweather and Paul? Which Paul is it? Is it Jake or Logan Paul? I don't fucking care on June 6th. Who will win? Nobody that actually pays money to watch that crap. If you pay money to watch it, you deserve whatever the hell you get. So those will be your losers. Mayweather and Paul win because they're going to get a big payday for this farce. Mojo_Jojo1104. Who, in your opinion, was the QB of the 1990s? It was Brett Favre. Close second is Steve Young. But in terms of the 90s, like, if people are going to say, well, what about Elway? What about him? If you're going to say Marino, what about Marino? If anything, you'd point to him being more of in the category along with Montana being QB of the 80s. But the 90s, Brett Favre was the face of the league. Brett Favre was a 3-time reigning consecutive league MVP, 2-time conference champion, Super Bowl champion. It's Brett Favre as the quarterback of the 90s, and it's frankly not even that close. I threw Steve Young out there just because of the precision with which he played and his incredible completion percentage, which was, year after year, he was among the tops in the league every year in quarterback rating and accuracy, but he only had the one championship, and I look at Favre like he was just better, so it's got to be Favre. Mike Schmidt _007. Any thoughts on Jamie Newman and his decision to opt out that led to him going undrafted, and whether he could beat out Joe Flacco for the backup role in Philadelphia? I don't think he'll beat out Flacco for the backup role, but I think he's somebody that you try to stash away on the practice squad for a year, see what you could do to develop him. Newman's a guy that he got double dinged. Like, he transferred and then decided to opt out. Like, it bit him in the ass. Like, really did not go as well as he might have intended. So can't regret the decision because the decision is made, but it certainly cost him money, that's for sure. So he clearly made the wrong decision in the moment. How it works out from the long term remains to be seen. At GHawk54, let's just say that Justin Fields is that dude. Where are the Bears in 5 years? Looking at the current roster, draft capital, and cap salary, I think that we're skewing more towards the Texans than the Chiefs. I could see that. Yeah, like that might not be a terrible, because you could say crappy ownership, questionable head coach, questionable offensive talent around. Yeah, like I could definitely see that comparison as it sits currently, and you try to envision the next 3 to 5 years. I could see becoming more like the Houston Texans than the Chiefs. I don't think that's unfair to say. The key is going to come down to this. Is the Bears understanding that now that you've made the move for Justin Fields, you must do what you did not do with Trubisky. And that is you must change everything that you do, and you must make it about the offense. Like, part of the big problem with the Trubisky experience was not only that Trubisky sucked, it was the fact that they tried to build up a championship-level defense around him instead of trying to build up a championship-level offense around him. They went with a dated roster-building approach, and it didn't work. Now, you got to realize that, hey, if the quarterback doesn't develop, nothing else matters. When all is said and done, it just doesn't. You're going to be a perpetual mediocre-ass team, and you don't want that. You'd rather either really suck or really be great and contending for championships. So you have to build that offense up around Justin Fields. And even for some Bears fans that might say, oh, the offense is good, you're fucking crazy. Like, tell me one guy at any position on that offense that is irreplaceable right now. The answer is there isn't one. There isn't one. Allen Robinson, there are better wide receivers in the game. Darnell Mooney, there are better wide receivers in the game. You know, tight end, obviously, there are better tight ends than Kmet and Graham. There are definitely better offensive linemen, better running backs than David Montgomery and Tariq Cohen. Like, everybody on that offense is potentially replaceable. Really. And that's the name of the game. You have to build up that offense around him. At Carter from Mars, advice about post-breakup single life. Take a step back. It's very easy for us as people. We like to project our problems onto others, and we like to project that everything is their fault. And it might be a lot of it that it is. But it's important to take a step back and say, hey, I've had all of these failed relationships. I've done all of these bad, had all these bad experiences. What's the common theme? It's not the different women or the different men, depending on what you do. The common theme is yourself. You have to look at yourself first and see, hey, did I ignore red flags at the beginning? Did I not set the right standards and the right accountabilities for the beginning? Did I do anything to screw it up from the beginning and then never manage to claw that back? Like, did I allow shit to go on for too long? Did I not put as much energy or effort into certain spaces that I should have? Like, the key thing is always looking at yourself first and then taking a step back and being comfortable with taking a step back and saying it's okay to be out there on your own for a little while. Because it might allow you to say, hey, I'm going to work on myself and I'm going to improve upon myself and think about what I want to prioritize in a partner. And, when you do that, you'll be likely much more successful. In the meantime, if you're thinking about needs and stuff, like, go buy a fucking fleshlight, go buy a fucking bunch of frickin' lotion or whatever you need to do, and just go buy a blow-up doll, whatever the hell you need to do to get it off and be able to keep yourself disciplined and focused on what you need to work on, then that's what you do. Ain't no judgment from anybody here, sir. I promise you that much. But focus on yourself. Think about those common themes that maybe you've seen in the partners that you've had. Like, what hasn't worked? What have you brought to the table that hasn't worked? And think about how all of that needs to change and what you're going to prioritize and what's really important to you. That's what I would say. Ad Sales Savant, do you expect Daniel Jones to take a big leap in year 3? As a Giants fan, I really hope so, but my hunch says probably not because a lot of his flaws can't be really fixed through coaching. That's the key thing. You hope, but you know better. I just don't see it. I don't see it. Like, you put all the pieces around him, but if the dude ain't got it, the dude ain't got it. I'm sorry, I just don't see where Danny Dimes, you could point to him and say that he's got it. I just don't think he does. I really don't. At Mahomes_Stan, a Mahomes Stan account, how about that? As a diehard Chiefs fan, who should I be concerned about in the AFC that could prevent the Chiefs from repeating as AFC champions? I'm thinking Chargers or Browns, but would love to hear your take. Browns maybe. Chargers certainly, because they could be a threat within their own division. I wouldn't discount the Bills. I mean, the Bills made the AFC Championship game last year, and they've still got Josh Allen. So there are certainly threats there. They certainly are. Those would be some of the teams that I would probably be the most concerned about. At Alex Ibarra 798, how many potential firsts should Green Bay ask for if they ultimately decide to trade Aaron Rodgers? 3. If they were to trade him this offseason, I would be asking for first-round picks in 2022, 2023, 2024. I tried to be mixing in some other day 2 picks because chances are if you're trading Rodgers to that team, that means that they're going to be picking pretty low. So the pick that you get is not going to be that great, not going to have nearly as much value. So I'm going to want to reinforce that with some other day 2 selections. Like I'm thinking if I'm Gutekunst and I'm going to actually have to trade Aaron Rodgers, if I can create enough of a market, I'm saying first and second in 2022, first and third in 2023, and maybe first and fourth in 2024. And that might be the starting place. You know, Hall of Fame, generational type quarterbacks don't get traded often. And when they do, you better make sure it counts for your organization. At Josh Grantham 7, what are your thoughts on Caleb Farley as a prospect? How concerned should the Titans be about his back? I think it should be somewhat concerned. Admittedly, I think he went in about the right spot, even without the back concerns. Really. Like, I thought he was a good, calculated gamble for the Titans at that point in time in the draft. At King Jordan 8476, how would you feel if the Bears moved to Arlington Park? Admittedly, now that I live in Virginia, it doesn't really bother me one way or another. I could give 2 shits less. Who cares? Move to Arlington Park. Build the state-of-the-art stadium on the fucking race grounds. Do that. Like, if that's what it takes, then do that. Is that going to happen anytime soon? Hell no. I think their lease still runs through the mid-2030s. They ain't breaking that lease, and Chicago ain't going to let them break that lease. But long term, so what? Like, either build an actual state-of-the-art, top-class facility with a retractable roof like modern fucking common sense NFL franchises do, where Soldier Field currently is, or find a location where you can. At Retarded Joseph, really? How do you feel about the New York Jets moving forward? Do you feel they are making the right decisions to turn into a winning team? They've gotten off to a good start. They got the quarterback, and they started building pieces around him on the offense. They got the right quarterback, in my estimation, more importantly. That's the starting point. That's the place that it had to come from. So I think they are starting to head out in the right direction. I love the hiring of Robert Saleh to be their head coach. Like, I was a big fan of his, big proponent of his. So I think, you know, future's looking brighter for the Jets, that's for sure. Dollar Balls. What is the overall best Bears team you've seen put together? Obviously, without a QB, since the 1990 season. Well, the best one was 2006, because they didn't have a quarterback and they made it to the Super Bowl. And you can point to that 2-year run of, you had mediocre rookie Kyle Orton leading the team most of the year in 2005, and they won double-digit games, won the division. And then in 2006, they came back and won the conference championship. So that right there is the best Bears team since 1990. At the King Maj, I think now the difficult schedule for the Bears is a blessing in disguise, because if, and I hope to God, Field starts week 1, we get to see him against good teams and we'll know if he's our guy or not. Agree totally. Can't hide the kid. You think he's got that big swinging dick energy, then you start him from day fucking 1. And the fact that you traded up from 20 to 11 and you sacrificed a first and a fourth in next year's draft indicates you think he has that big swinging dick energy. Then you better fucking play him week 1. Let's see here. Who else? Brandon A. Roman, are the Jets finally turning things around, or should I not get my hopes up? I think you have reason to be a little optimistic. Here. Michael Strickland, do you think Allen Robinson will be more likely to sign a long-term contract now that the Bears drafted Fields? Potentially. It may strengthen their position. It will depend upon the season that they have overall, though. I think that's true. At UMish Wolverine 1, how can you knock the Lions for drafting Penei Sewell? I'm extremely critical of the Lions and have been my entire life. I'm not sure how anyone consider drafting him anything other than good at the very least. I'll tell you why very simply. If Fields or Mac Jones becomes a franchise NFL quarterback, that pick looks stupid. It's a huge risk to pass on both of those guys that were available at pick 7. That's what it comes down to. It's not a judgment on Sewell. I understand it. But if Fields, especially with Fields being in the fucking division, if he becomes that dude, Detroit looks like ass clowns. Period. I hope that helps a little bit. Anyways, thanks you guys. Have fun doing the Q&A. Oh, excuse me. K. Nokaj. This is a question I need to address. Is part of the reason that you dislike Peyton Manning because he beat the Bears in Super Bowl 41 and you knew they had no chance? No. This is a really bad, dumb, stupid thing that some people put out there. It's a very lazy thing to say. He doesn't like Peyton Manning because he beat the Bears in the Super Bowl. How often do you hear me shit on Brett Favre for his career, even though he consistently kicked the Bears' ass for a decade and a half? How often do you see me shit on Aaron Rodgers, even though I just believe earlier in this Q&A video, as a matter of fact, I referred to him as a generational first ballot Hall of Fame quarterback. Like, if anything, you accuse me a bit of being an Aaron Rodgers ball washer. He beat them in the AFC Championship game, or the NFC Championship game in Soldier Field in that 2010 season. How often do you see me shit on Aaron Rodgers? Like, if somebody thinks that I dislike Peyton Manning or have a distaste for Peyton Manning because of that Super Bowl 41 shit, like, that's just dumb. My distaste for Peyton Manning more comes along the fact that for almost 2 decades, like, he was ball washed so much by the media. Whenever his team won, it was all because of him. And when his team lost, it was everybody's fault but him. And you would see all the excuses and defenses made for him. Because his legacy was choke jobs and excuses. That's exactly what the fuck it is, and I stand behind that. Like, it doesn't bother me that he beat the Bears in the Super Bowl. Why would I give a shit? I knew they were never going to win it because they have fucking Rex Grossman as their quarterback. And especially by that point in time in the season, they had lost Tommy Harris and Mike Brown. I knew they were fucked. They were lucky to get to the Super Bowl at that point in time. Like I had been talking about for the time leading up to it, like, you know, it's all going to come crashing down. I spent the whole season talking about how eventually this great season is going to come crashing down because Rex Grossman fucking sucks. So why would I hate on Peyton Manning for that? I hate much more on Ron Turner for wanting to go bombs away with Sexy Rexy in the fucking Super Bowl in the rain. So no, it has nothing to do with that at all. You know what I mean? Like, and people that think that are just being kind of dense, admittedly. All right, I had to, because I saw that one, I had to answer that one because that's one that's stuck in my craw for a long time because people will say, you just hate him because of this. No. Because your logic doesn't carry over to other quarterbacks who have beaten the Bears in other big similar spots and have done it consistently for a longer period of time. Like, it just doesn't fucking make any sense, okay? But anyways, thank you everyone for submitting your questions for both parts of this weekly Q&A. Hope you make sure you check out part 1 if you haven't already. I'll see you later.